Hello everyone, welcome to Tathastu. I am Meenakshi and I am back again with another interesting and important topic for your UPSC examination. As you can see on your screen, it is about water green credits and how it will revolutionize the responsible water management, or how it will help in this responsible water conservation. So we human beings think that water is free and we use it recklessly without realizing that water is a finite source and we have to conserve it. We have to conserve it for our future to build water security rather than water scarcity. So today in this lecture we will be learning about this policy which is based on this green credit system, water green credit system, similarly on the lines of carbon credit. So we will be learning about this policy in this lecture, but before that, these are the courses which are offered by Tathastu-ICS for all of you, which is MSLV, specifically targeting your mains examination, mains success launch vehicle. So admissions are open, you can get yourself enrolled. Then there's NCRT module, you can register for it as well. Moving on, this is PSLV, that is your prelim success launch vehicle, which is coming very soon, super soon. And then it is your philosophy optional by Tanu ma'am, and if your optional is philosophy, you can get yourself enrolled in this. Now starting the lecture, water credits. So before starting, I hope you have heard about carbon credits. So it is basically a certificate, a tradable certificate, and this carbon credit system was introduced under the Kyoto Protocol. So it is a tradable certificate where the country which have this certificate, they have this right to emit carbon dioxide or this greenhouse gas. So one credit is equal to 1 ton of CO2 emitted. This is the concept of carbon credit. Now similarly on the lines, this is a policy which will involve this water green credit to conserve water for the future, as the water resources, the reservoirs, specifically the groundwater is depleting very soon. So this is the reason why this policy will be developed to conserve water for the future purposes. Now before starting this data, we must know about fresh water. So our 69% fresh water is stored in glaciers and the polar caps. Okay, so this is really important. This question was actually asked in your prelims examination. So 69% is stored in glacier and this polar ice caps, and your 30% water, fresh water, here we are talking about fresh water, is stored in groundwater. Now the remaining 1%, so only 1% is stored in other resources like rivers or lakes. So remembering this data is really important, because this question has been asked in your UPSC examination. So you have to identify those areas specifically from where UPSC asks question. Now coming to this article where we will be talking about this policy, this water credit policy. So let's begin. What are the India's water challenges? First of all, groundwater depletion. So India relies heavily on the usage of groundwater, and this is the reason why groundwater is depleting really fast over here. And because of this overuse, exploitation, extraction, we are over extracting this groundwater for this irrigation industry and domestic purposes. Now if we talk about the usage distribution, so we have seen that we rely heavily on groundwater usage, and if we talk about this usage distribution, how do we use this groundwater? That is, agriculture mainly consumes groundwater. So the most amount of 67% is going towards agriculture, and that too for this irrigation purposes. We will discuss in detail. Let's just read an overview ki what is the usage distribution. So agriculture majorly consumes groundwater, then that is 67%, then 22% is used by our household or domestic purposes, and the rest is then used by the industry. 67% is the major percentage is used by the agriculture, and that too for the irrigation purposes. Now in many agricultural region, and when the monsoon is not good, when the rainfall is deficient, so at that time farmer use this groundwater for the irrigating their crops. So they rely basically on this groundwater to irrigate their crops, especially during dry season, as I said, when the when the monsoon is weak or the rainfall is deficient, or when surface water sources like this rivers or lakes don't have sufficient water, then what does farmer do? They rely heavily on the groundwater for irrigation purpose. Now, before moving forward, let's see this map. I hope you can read the map and see the map. The areas which are marked in red, this particular area, these are the areas which are overexploited and overexploited for groundwater. So this is important. You can make this map in your examination as well. So these are the areas, this particular area, these are the areas which are overexploited for the use of groundwater. Now coming back to this irrigation, groundwater irrigation we are talking about. So when we usually go to our village or when we go in rural areas, so we see tube wells and pumps. So this is how the farmers extract the groundwater and then use that groundwater for irrigation purpose. And same thing is written over here, that groundwater is extracted using wells and pumps, and then it is distributed to fields through various irrigation methods. Flood irrigation, where the water is left open in the field. Then this drip irrigation, where the drip irrigation is basically drop by drop method, where the water is not wasted. So it is efficient technique of using water. And then there is this sprinkler system. So this is how the water is used majorly in agriculture sector, that is 67% it comprises of, and it is used majorly in the irrigation purpose. Now moving on, what is the root issue of this water depletion? So number one, water intensive crop. That means the crops which require lot of water, and those crops are rice, you can say, sugarcane, you can say. So these crops require a lot of water. In fact, cotton also require a lot of water. So these are the crops which require a lot of water. And then some farmers use inefficient irrigation techniques. In fact, rice, the paddy, the cultivation of paddy requires a lot of water. And then over the top on this, inefficient irrigation techniques are used. So a lot of water is wasted in this. Then there is leaky distribution. Leaky distribution means like some regions have surplus of water, whereas some region have scarcity of water. Those regions even don't have water to drink. So there is this leaky distribution. And then we don't have that much infrastructure for wastewater treatment where we can reuse, where we can recycle that water and reuse. We have infrastructure, but it is not much developed. So we have this inadequate wastewater treatment infrastructure. So these are the issues we are facing with basically the water challenges we are facing. Now moving towards another causes for these challenge, one of them is urban impact. So rapid industrialization, as the industries grow, these various industries also require a lot of water. What do? They leave this untreated sewage or this untreated water into various water bodies, polluting it and contaminating the water as well. So this urban impact, the rapid industrialization and urbanization is causing widespread water pollution because they leave this untreated sewage into river. Now coming to this sewage and wastewater, as I said, urbanization increases the demand for water supplies. So urbanization is increasing. We know that people are moving towards city for better employment opportunity, for better lifestyle. So demand is increasing. The demand for water is also increasing. The supply, we have limited supply. As I said, that water is a finite source. It is not infinite source, that it will never end. Water is a finite source. We have to understand this. So the demand for the water supply is increasing, but the supply remains same. So that is the reason it is overburdened. And for sanitation services as well, the water is required. Now if sewage treatment facilities are inadequate or improperly managed, untreated or partially treated sewage, it can be discharged into, because if the sewage treatment facilities, we have seen inadequate infrastructure, if those are not properly managed, then we will leave that untreated sewage into the river, ultimately contaminating or polluting the river as well, wasting that water as well. Now if we talk about industrial discharges, So urban areas have obviously urban areas have lot of industries which use lot of water. Construction industries in fact uses lot of water. It is one of the example where lot of water is used, and then what these industries do, they left the untreated sewage into the water bodies. So these urban areas often host industries that generate pollutants, because the water which is left untreated may contain hazardous chemicals, heavy metals or other pollutants. So the water is not worthy of drinking at all after this. So this is industrial discharge may have adverse impact on our health as well. Now we talked about leaky distribution, the water scarcity areas and the water surplus areas. So let's see about them. There is uneven water distribution. There is resource disparities. Some areas have surplus region with excess water, and some areas are even struggling for the drinking water. Now, if we talk about the scarcity region, the Marathwada region, which is in Maharashtra, and certain district of the Bundelkhand region suffer from water scarcity. And if we talk about surplus, are hilly areas, the island areas which often experience very good rainfall, and then our coastal Maharashtra areas. These are just few example of those areas. There are a lot of water scarcity as well as surplus areas. And if you can see the map, we can see over here that the areas which are marked in this green. So we can see this is the northeast. These are our hilly areas. So they have occasional water problem. They don't have that much scarcity. They don't have much problem related to the water resources. The problem is there, but it is very occasional. Now moving towards the areas which are in blue, these are the areas which are facing water stress. Now if we move towards the areas which are this in orange part, these are the areas which have water scarcity. These are the regions which are facing the water scarcity. And if we move towards absolute scarcity, that means even these areas may be facing problems even for drinking water or basic utility where they can utilize water. So these are the areas which have these areas marked in red. These are the areas which have absolute scarcity. You can take a screenshot of this. So these are the areas where the water, there is absolute scarcity as well as scarcity. Now moving on, introducing to water green credit. So we have seen what are the problems, what are the root causes of those problems. Let's see about this policy, which is water green credit, which is on similar lines of carbon credit, and carbon credit was introduced under the Kyoto Protocol. Have to remember this as well, that this is the parallel concept of basically the carbon credit only. So discussing about it, what is the purpose? We have seen what is the purpose of this. The name itself implies for water conservation and efficiency, for managing the water, for conserving the water efficiently, reusing the water, recycling it, and having water security for future. So this is the basic concept, to conserve water, and this is being considered by India against this backdrop, and the backdrop is the various issues which we have discussed, which we are facing. So now this policy is designed to promote, if we talk about the purpose of this policy, so the purpose is designed to promote water conservation, water efficiency, we have seen, for harvesting technique, for usage, so that we use the water efficiently. So these credits will be given. We will discuss this in detail. Just an overview that what is the purpose of this policy. And it may include wastewater treatment and reuse as well, emphasizing we have wastewater infrastructure but it is inadequate. So this policy may emphasize on this wastewater treatment where the water can be recycled, reused and preserved. Now moving toward this water green credit, it has potential. If we talk about the potential of this credit system, so it may influence water conservation and sustainable use. So this is, if we summarize it in a single line, so this policy is for water conservation and efficient management, emphasizing various techniques using wastewater treatment plants. So these are the various techniques through which it can be conserved efficiently. Now moving, so we have discussed this, that it is similar to carbon credit. It is similar concept parallel to the carbon credit, where this water green credit is for this water conservation and efficiency, and for consuming optimization, where the water is used wisely. The use is for the wise purpose. The water is not wasted. And if we talk about the fundamental idea of water green credit is that every entity consuming water should assume responsibility. Now you see, this is the fundamental idea, this is the core idea, where the onus, where the responsibility is on whom? The responsibility is on the entity, the industry, the person utilizing the water. The whole responsibility will be on that person to reuse water, to use water wisely, use it in an optimizing way, right? And then reserve it and consume it in a efficient way. So the whole responsibility lies on that entity for optimizing consumption and be accountable. So he or she will be held accountable, or that particular entity will be held accountable for restoring that much water as used by him. The quantity used by him, it will be his accountability to restore that water. And if we talk about the compensation mechanism, the entities which will fall short, they can buy units to offset consumption, and that means if they exhaust their units, then they can buy these units to offset the consumption. Now moving on, this policy will incentivize the responsibility, and we have seen the responsibility will be on the whole onus will be on the entities using the water. It will be their responsibility to conserve and restore that water, the quantity they have used. And incentivizing responsibility, it will be their strategy to encourage responsible consumption and restoration. So here we can also see that the whole onus, the whole responsibility lies on the shoulder of the entities. Now if we talk about thresholds, what will be the threshold for using water under this policy? Generating credit with activity based threshold. So the threshold will be based on the industry and the particular activity for which the water will be utilized for maximum impact. So threshold will be activity based. And administration, if we talk about how this policy will be administered, it will be administered digitally. It will provide seamless administration or management. Moving on, what will be the framework elements? So it will outline the qualifying guidelines. Whenever we appear for an exam, we have this qualifying criteria, we have this eligibility criteria and the benefits as well. So this policy will also similarly outline or take out the guidelines, the qualifying guidelines, the criteria and the benefits. And the rewards will be terrain based. There will be different reward for safe areas, for critical and over exploited regions. So this is how this policy will function. Now moving on, what are the efficiency standards set for agriculture, industry and domestic sector? So the efficiency standards will be set separately for different industry depending on their needs. As we have seen, different industry have utilized water in different ways and have their own needs. So these efficiency standard will be set up in that way. And if we talk about promoting efficiency, that credits encourage efficient crop varieties and irrigation method. Now as the onus will lie on the entity, they will definitely use this crop varieties which is less water intensive, which does not require much water. For example, there are crops such as pulses and millets which have high nutritional value, and also they don't require much water, that is, they don't require much irrigation. So this policy will also promote efficiency. And moving towards this rainwater harvesting. So rainwater harvesting, we have been hearing since childhood that it replenishes groundwater table. So these credits will support the groundwater replenishment through water body restoration. And if we talk about the industrial efficiency, the benchmarks will be defined for each industry. It will encourage water efficient technology and practices. So we have seen that crop varieties, the different crop varieties can be used which utilize less water. Similarly, industries will also use those techniques which are water efficient and use those technologies and practices which are water efficient. They will try to use this closed loop system and water reuse practices. They will try to build up this adequate sewage, specifically this wastewater infrastructure. And if we talk about pollution, we have seen how these industries are polluting the rivers and lakes. So industries pollution potential factored will also be taken into factor in this credit system, ki how much they pollute a particular water body. Now if we talk about the commercial efficiency standards for different buildings, hotels, schools and hospitals will be different. And if we talk about the water efficient practices in public places, so waterless urinals will be used and leak detection will be there. And if we talk about public awareness program regarding this, we need essential campaigning to educate about this credit benefit system. Moving towards appliance efficiency, it will establish standard for water efficient appliances. We have as of now we have these 5-star appliances to save energy. Similarly, we will have these water efficient appliances as well. And if it move towards the residential sector, the buildings will be constructed in such a way that promote rainwater harvesting as well as this grey water recycling, where this water can be recycled and used for other purposes. Now moving towards how it will be implemented, it can be a collaborative success between government, private sector as well as the NGOs and various other institutions. What impact will this program have? It has potential to transform water conservation. So we have seen that there are different ways and techniques in this, in which ways this water can be conserved, and this will definitely lead us towards a sustainable future where water green credits contribute to long-term water security rather than long-term water scarcity. And if we move towards responsibility sharing, we have seen that entities had this onus, they had this responsibility, they are accountable for consumption as well as restoration of that water, the quantity which has been used by them. And if we talk about behavioral change, the credits change the mindset towards responsibility. Why? Because the onus is on entities, so definitely they'll try to use best practices, so we will be observing some behavioral changes as well. And if we talk about economic incentives, then financial benefit for efficient practices, we will be using water efficient appliances and the restoration efforts of water as well. And if this is a collective effort, we have seen water green credit offer a comprehensive solution through collaboration between various partners, be it government, NGOs and other institutions. So this is the question which was asked in your prelims examination. Let's see it. With reference to water on planet Earth, consider the following statement. Those two statements are given. So statement number 1 is the amount of water in river and lake. So this statement talks about the amount of water in rivers and lake is more than the amount of groundwater. So at the beginning of the lecture, we have discussed that rivers and lakes comprises of only 1% fresh water. We talked about groundwater as well. Groundwater comprises of 30% water, and the remaining 65% is trapped in 69% is trapped in glaciers. So statement number 1 says the amount of river and lakes, which is 1%, is greater than 30. And statement number 2 says the amount of water in polar ice caps in glacier, which is 69, is greater than amount of groundwater, which is 30. Now, which of the statement given above is correct? They have asked the correct statement and we have discussed it. Now, you will tell the answer in the comment section. And I hope you found the session interesting. If you found it, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. Thank you.